What? As I was growing up, I became very enamored and interested in the technical aspects of the created world. And I'd heard about evolution, but I'd also heard other things too about, how that came about. And I was raised actually as a Catholic, but I had a very, very good education under the Catholic institution, all the while being bombarded with a lot of invisible stuff that they were making me think about, but dead people that I could speak to and so forth and so on. But science is a Latin word, sciere, and it means to know. And if you know something, it may not be actually the truth. So what I was really pursuing, and that's what science does, it pursues truth, and it wants evidence to prove that it is true. And that's one of the basic foundational aspects of science. And when I was very, very young, I became interested in the atmosphere and how it operated, weather systems and water and the elements and how they behaved in different temperatures and environments. So what I did was I started looking into this stuff, and I did it on my own, and I studied science more progressively until finally, at the age of 35, I basically abandoned science in the context that we normally think of it as. And I said, there's got to be more. Because I read Einstein, and I've gone into physics, and I studied Niels Bohr and the Olbers paradox and all these technical things. But it didn't make sense because they were arguing and they didn't agree with one another, and the science wasn't really science. It was not real true knowledge. It wasn't truth, and I wanted foundational truth. So what happened was Yahuwah met me. That's the Creator, and His Spirit is actually something that's all around everybody. And I started reading the scriptures instead of science journals and papers and reports on new discoveries in outer space. And I opened the book in the middle, and I found myself under a prophet's name, Isaiah, which vaguely sounded familiar to me. I had never read a word of this in my life. I had been exposed to little bits and pieces throughout my life as a Catholic, but I had not actually read from the book. I turned the book open, and it fell upon chapter 53 unexpectedly. I had no idea what was in that chapter, and it shook me to my roots. And I said, this book is alive. These are living words. They were speaking to me, So I closed the book, and I made a personal commitment. You could say it's a vow, I guess, that I was going to read every word. And then I opened the book from the beginning, and I read the preface. The preface. Most people don't open to the preface. And this happened to be an NIV, a New International Version. And it said that they'd removed the name of the Creator from the text and replaced it with another term. And I just felt this burning fear, this fire inside my bones. Literally. I'm not just making this up. And I later found out that a prophet had the same feeling. And I did not have a relationship with the Creator of the universe. But apparently He was coming upon me. And I said, this is wrong. This is very, very wrong. And so I went back to my university, and I went to the library. And this was in 1985. And I started making photocopies of the languages and the alphabets of Hebrew. And I saw that there were two scripts. There was an older script and a newer script. And I started studying them and comparing them with the Latin alphabet that we use. And everything started to make sense because I was putting it together at the right foundation. Because I was starting on the foundation, and believe it or not, after many, many, many years, I have discovered that there is a foundation stone to build your house on. Your house. Now that's a construction that you're building your heart really on. And the stone, the foundation stone that cannot change is the name of the Creator. It can't change. And that's what they had done. Because the stone that the builders rejected has become the chief cornerstone. And when you build on that stone, then you have the key of knowledge, and it will unlock all the mysteries in the scriptures. It's actually a key. And I discovered that key from the very beginning. So every sentence that I read when I read the scriptures was unlocked to me, because I realized what it meant, because he explained it to me in my spirit. It was a communication, because it is locked. If you don't have the key, you can read the words and they will not make sense. But put the name into the lock, and it works. It's the foundation. I'm about to prepare for a seminar in just a few days on the stone, or the stones crying out. And there's two levels to it, as I like to explain. There's a concrete level where you can touch the stuff, and then there's an abstract level. Well, I'm going to explain that too. I don't know if you can see this or not, but this is an ancient stone from the 8th century BCE. That would be, what, 2,800 plus years ago. And this is a fellow that lived in southern Turkey, and he's a king, and this is some kind of a giant stone. This is like 3 feet high or so. And you notice the top of the stone? Everything is well preserved in the original Hebrew or Paleo-Hebrew script. But this fellow was not an Israelite. He was actually a king of another kingdom. The top of the stone is all chunked away, but everything else is in perfect condition. It's one of the best conditions any stone has ever been found in. You know why this is all chunked off up here? Well, possibly that, but certainly because they didn't like whatever name was up there, so they got rid of it. And they did it a long time ago. And they've been doing that. A king would destroy the name of a previous king and claim it as his own, and usually put his own name there in place of it, like the pharaohs did many, many times. So we see that the words, and especially the names, are very important. So there's been a name that's been under attack. If anybody wants to open the preface of their scriptures, or go online and look for the name of the Creator of the universe, they can easily discover it in sometimes corrupted forms. They'll use W's and J's and E's and things like that in the spelling in our languages, in the English. But if you go back and look at the Hebrew shapes and letters, it's going to, even people are going to be amazed, What?